If you keep tempting me with that dress, I don't know if I will be able to keep my hands off you." The words slide through the crowded ballroom in flawless Korean, low enough that only Naomi hears them. Min-jae stands behind her, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the cedar and smoke of his cologne. Naomi turns slowly, meeting his dark eyes with a calm she doesn't feel. The borrowed designer dress, midnight blue silk that Hana, her best friend, insisted she wear, suddenly feels like a second skin, exposing far more than just her shoulders. "Then perhaps," she replies in equally perfect Korean, "you should learn some self-control." 3 months ago, Naomi answered the translator ad out of desperation. UCLA tuition was covered, but rent, food, and the money she wired home to her mother every month weren't. Fluent Korean had always been her advantage, and the pay Min-jae offered felt unreal. Their interview was cold, efficient, no flirting, no explanations. She translated documents, then meetings, then late-night conversations that didn't sound like trade deals. When she overheard men discussing handling a problem, Naomi didn't quit. She confronted him instead. She needed the money, and fear had never paid her bills. He'd respected her demand for honesty, raised her pay considerably, and they'd settled into an arrangement that worked. Translator and employer, nothing more. Except now he was looking at her like she was the only woman in the room. For 3 seconds, Min-jae Park simply stares. The composed businessman, the man who navigates board meetings and dangerous negotiations without breaking a sweat, looks genuinely shocked. Then something shifts in his expression, surprise melting into something darker, hungrier. His hand finds the small of her back, ostensibly guiding her through the crowd of Seoul's elite at this charity gala. But there's nothing courteous about the possessive pressure of his palm against her spine, the way his fingers spread just slightly, claiming territory. "You've been holding out on me," he murmurs. "You never asked." The ballroom swirls around them, champagne glasses clinking, designer gowns rustling, power brokers making deals in hushed corners. But their conversation narrows into something dangerously intimate. "Mr. Park." A business associate materialized beside them, but Min-jae's attention never wavered from Naomi's face. "Not now," he said flatly, still watching her. The man retreated quickly. "Smart." "You can't just dismiss people like that," Naomi murmured, though her pulse raced at the intensity of his focus. "Watch me." His hand slid higher on her back, fingers splaying possessively. "We need to talk. My office. After." "That's not a good idea." But even as she said it, she knew she was already lost. "I don't care if it's a good idea." His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the crowd. "I care that I've spent 3 months pretending I don't want you. That dress just made that impossible." Naomi's breath caught. She should say no, should maintain the professional distance that kept both of them safe, should remember all the reasons this was dangerous. Instead, she whispered, "After." Naomi shouldn't be here. She should have gone home with Hana, laughed off the champagne and the charged moment on the ballroom floor, pretended Min-jae Park was just her employer and nothing more. Instead, she's standing in his office at midnight, the city lights of Seoul glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows, her heart hammering against her ribs. The door clicks shut behind him. For a moment, neither speaks. He's shed his jacket, loosened his tie, and in the dim lighting, he looks less like the composed businessman who commands rooms and more like a man barely holding himself together. "Do you know how difficult you make it to focus on business?" His voice is rough, stripped of its usual control. He doesn't move closer, but his eyes track over her like a physical touch, the curve of her neck, the way the silk dress catches the light, the rise and fall of her breathing. "Every meeting, every translation, every time you walk into a room. 3 months, Naomi. 3 months of pretending I don't notice the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating, or how you take your coffee, or that you always arrive exactly 7 minutes early." The confession steals her breath. She forces herself to stay grounded, to remember what this is. "I'm not some prize you won. I work for you." "I know." He finally moves, but only to rake a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. "That's the problem. This isn't working. The professional distance, the boundaries. I can't do this anymore." Her stomach drops. You're firing me? I'm telling you to quit. His eyes meet hers, fierce and unguarded. Because if you stay, everything we've carefully avoided is going to happen, and I won't be sorry about it. The reasonable thing would be to leave. Walk away from the danger, the complication, the man who's admitting he wants her while simultaneously pushing her away. But Naomi has never been particularly reasonable. She steps closer. One step, then another, until she's near enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the tension in his jaw. What if I don't want to quit either thing? The air between them becomes electric, charged with 3 months of denied attraction and unspoken want. His gaze drops to her mouth, and she watches his control fracture in real time, the way his hands clench at his sides, the sharp intake of breath, the infinitesimal lean toward her. Naomi. Her name sounds like a warning and a prayer. He reaches up, his fingers just grazing her jawline. The office door slams open. Min-jae moves so fast she barely registers it, positioning himself between her and the intruder. His lieutenant, Jae-sung, looks grim. We have a situation. The dragons hit one of our warehouses. They're sending a message. Every trace of the vulnerable man vanishes. Min-jae is pure cold authority now, already moving toward his desk, pulling up security feeds on his computer. The conversation is rapid-fire Korean. Locations, numbers, strategy. Naomi understands every word, including the violence implicit in the response they're planning. 15 minutes, he tells Jae-sung, who nods and leaves. Min-jae turns to her, and for a moment the mask slips. She sees frustration, concern, and something that might be regret. Stay here. Don't leave this building. It's a command, protective and absolute. I mean it, Naomi. He's gone before she can respond, the door closing with a finality that echoes in the sudden silence. She should leave. Should go home, reassess, put distance between herself and whatever this is becoming. Instead, she sinks onto the leather couch, still wearing the borrowed dress, and waits. 2 hours later, the door opens. Naomi is on her feet instantly. Min-jae looks exhausted, his shirt partially untucked, and there's blood, not a lot but enough, staining his white collar and sleeve. Her heart stops. It's not mine, he says immediately, reading her expression. Most of it, anyway. Most? She's moving before thinking, crossing to him, her hands already reaching for his shirt. Let me see. Naomi, let me see. He submits with a sigh, allowing her to unbutton his shirt. There's a gash along his ribs, not deep but angry and still seeping. She disappears into his private bathroom, returns with a first aid kit she knows he keeps there, and begins cleaning the wound with steady hands despite the churning in her stomach. His eyes never leave her face. You should have gone home. You should stop getting stabbed. The words come out sharper than intended, betraying the fear still coursing through her veins. She focuses on the wound, on the mechanical process of cleaning and bandaging, but her hands are trembling. When she's done, she doesn't step back. Instead, her palm finds his face, fingers tracing the line of his jaw, his cheekbone, mapping him like she's confirming he's real and whole. Don't do that again. His hand covers hers, holding it against his face. I can't promise that. Then promise me something else. Her eyes meet his, and she sees her own fear and want reflected back. Promise you'll always come back. Always. The word is a vow, sealed when he turns his head to press a kiss to her palm, his lips warm against her skin. I'll always come back. The invitation arrives on cream-colored cardstock with elegant calligraphy. Mrs. Park requests the pleasure of Ms. Naomi Chen's company for dinner. Naomi stares at it like it might bite. Your mother knows about me? She looks up at Min-jae, who's studying a shipping manifest with perhaps too much focus. She knows I have a talented translator. He doesn't look up. She wants to meet you. Just as your translator? Now he meets her eyes, and there's something dangerous in his expression. Does it matter what I tell her, when we both know it's not the truth? 4 nights after the gala, 3 nights after he promised to always come back, and they still haven't defined what this is. They exist in a space between employer and employee, between wanting and having, and dinner with his mother feels like being dragged into daylight before they're ready. But Naomi goes. Because she's curious. Because refusing feels like cowardice. and because the look in Min-jae's eyes when she agreed made her feel like she'd won something. The Park family home is old money Seoul. Traditional architecture married with modern luxury, nestled in an exclusive neighborhood where even the air seems expensive. Min-jae's mother, Mrs. Park Hye-jin, is elegant in the way only Korean matriarchs can be, with sharp eyes that miss nothing and a smile that could mean welcome or warfare. Miss Anderson, her Korean is formal, testing. My son speaks highly of your skills. Mrs. Park, Naomi bows respectfully, matching her formality. I'm honored by the invitation. They're settling into the dining room when she arrives. Soo-jin, Min-jae's supposed match, dressed in a cream designer hanbok that probably costs more than Naomi's monthly salary. She's beautiful in that intimidating way. Perfect posture, perfect makeup, from a perfect family. Everything Naomi is not. Min-jae oppa, Soo-jin, Min-jae's childhood voice is sugar-sweet as she glides to his side, pointedly ignoring Naomi. She speaks in rapid Korean, assuming, like Min-jae once did, that the American translator won't understand. I didn't realize you'd brought your assistant to family dinner. How unusual. The insult is delicate but deliberate. Assistant, not translator. Present but not worthy of acknowledgement. Mrs. Park's eyes flick to Naomi, watching, testing. Naomi sets down her water glass with precise care. Actually, she says in flawless Korean, matching Soo-jin's Seoul accent perfectly, I was invited. Though I can certainly understand the confusion, it must be difficult keeping track of who belongs where. The silence that follows is exquisite. Soo-jin's perfect composure cracks, her eyes widening. Mrs. Park's expression doesn't change, but Naomi swears she sees approval flicker there. And Min-jae looks like he's trying very hard not to smile, his eyes dark with something between pride and possession. Your Korean is quite accomplished, Miss Anderson, Mrs. Park says mildly. Where did you study? Columbia University, but my grandmother was from Busan. She insisted I learn properly. Naomi meets the older woman's eyes steadily. She always said language is power. You can't truly know someone until you understand not just their words, but how they choose to use them. A wise woman, Mrs. Park nods. She taught you well. Throughout dinner, Soo-jin tries to dominate Min-jae's attention, touching his arm, laughing too loudly at things that aren't funny, speaking of shared memories and family connections. But Min-jae is polite stone, responding minimally, his attention constantly drifting to Naomi. When Naomi discusses regional Korean dialects with his mother, explaining how she navigates different business contexts, he watches her with undisguised interest. When she helps the housekeeper clear plates despite protests, earning another approving nod from Mrs. Park, his gaze follows her movements like he's memorizing them. You know, Soo-jin says as dessert arrives, her voice pitched for the table, Min-jae and I have known each other since childhood. Our families have always expected we'd eventually, Soo-jin. Min-jae's voice is quiet but absolute. I'm not available. He doesn't look at Soo-jin when he says it. He looks at Naomi, and the weight of that gaze makes her breath catch. Not available. Present tense, public declaration. Soo-jin's face flushes. Your mother can speak for herself, Mrs. Park interrupts smoothly. And I believe what my son is trying to say is that his interests lie elsewhere. She turns to Naomi with a small smile. Miss Chen, would you join me for tea? I have questions about your work. It's a dismissal and an acceptance rolled into one. Soo-jin leaves shortly after, her exit graceful, but her fury barely concealed. Mrs. Park's tea questions are actually an interrogation disguised as conversation about Naomi's family, her education, her intentions. But underneath it, Naomi senses something unexpected, respect for a woman who doesn't fold under pressure. My son's world is dangerous, Mrs. Park says quietly as tea cools between them. Not everyone can survive it. Fewer still can thrive. I know what his world is, Naomi replies. I'm not naive. No, the older woman agrees. You're not. That's why I wanted to meet you. When Naomi finally leaves with Min-jae, the night air is sharp and clean. His car waits, but he doesn't immediately move toward it. Instead, he turns to her on the steps, his expression unreadable. You didn't have to do that, Naomi says. The declaration. You could have kept things ambiguous. Yes, I did. His hand comes up, fingers ghosting along her jaw. I'm tired of ambiguous, tired of pretending there's any version of this where I don't want you. Your mother approves, surprisingly. He steps closer, and his other hand finds her waist, anchoring her. She said you have steel in your spine, that you didn't try to impress her, just met her honestly. Is that what you want? Honesty? Instead of answering, he leans down and presses his lips to her forehead, not the kiss she expected, but somehow more intimate. When he speaks, it's in Korean, the words soft against her skin. 나는 당신에게 빠지고 있어요. I'm falling for you. Naomi's heart stutters. She understands, of course, understands the significance of him saying it in his language, in the tongue of his heart, understands that this is the line they've been dancing around, and he's just stepped over it completely. Min-jae, you don't have to say it back. He pulls back just enough to meet her eyes. I just needed you to know. No more ambiguity. Naomi tastes like tea and courage, and Min-jae knows he's lost. Not that he was ever really fighting it, not since that dress, that confession in Korean she understood, the moment she touched his face and told him not to get hurt again. He's falling, has fallen, is gone. For 1 week, they exist in a perfect bubble. Stolen moments between meetings, his hand finding hers under conference tables. The way she now takes her coffee in his office, curled in the corner of his couch with documents spread around her, completely at home in his space. He's never wanted to protect something so badly while simultaneously knowing she doesn't need his protection. She's steel-wrapped in grace, and she's chosen him. Then, Sung-ho walks into his office with a tablet and an expression that makes Min-jae's blood run cold. We have a problem. His second-in-command doesn't look at the corner where Naomi is working. Financial discrepancy. 300,000 missing from the Lee transaction. Min-jae's jaw tightens. When? Last week. The money was transferred to an offshore account. Sung-ho finally glances at Naomi, and his meaning is clear. The same day our translator accessed those specific files for review. The world narrows to a single point. Naomi looks up from her laptop, sensing the shift in atmosphere. What's wrong? Can we see the transfer records? Min-jae's voice is carefully neutral, but his mind is already racing. There has to be an explanation. Has to be. Sung-ho pulls up the documentation, transfer authorization, account access logs, digital signature. And there, undeniable, Naomi's credentials, her access timestamp, the routing information that only someone with her clearance could have processed. This is circumstantial, Min-jae says, but the words feel weak even to him. This is theft. Sung-ho's voice is hard. From the organization, you know what that means. Yes, he knows. In his world, there's only one response to theft, one way to handle betrayal. His father built this organization on absolute loyalty, and Min-jae has maintained it the same way. No exceptions, no mercy. But this is Naomi. I need to speak with her, he says quietly. Alone. Sung-ho's expression suggests he thinks this is a mistake, but he leaves. The door clicks shut, and Naomi is already standing, her face pale but composed. What's going on? Min-jae should ease into this, should approach it carefully. Instead, he feels himself sliding into the cold professionalism that has protected him his entire life, the mask he wears when emotions become dangerous. There's money missing. 300,000. The evidence suggests you took it. He watches her face, carefully, looking for tells. Guilt, fear, defensiveness. Instead, he sees only confusion. What evidence? He turns the tablet toward her. She reads through the documents, her brow furrowing, and he hates that he's analyzing her reactions like she's a suspect instead of the woman he kissed 7 days ago, the woman who promised to teach him how to make her grandmother's kimchi recipe. I did access these files, she says slowly. You asked me to review the Lee contracts for translation accuracy, but I never processed any transfers. Min-jae, I don't even have authorization for financial transactions, only document access. It's a good point, a logical point, but the evidence is there, undeniable. Someone used your credentials, he says, and he hears how it sounds, not like he believes her, but like he's looking for a way to excuse what the evidence shows. So you think I did this? Her voice is very quiet, not a question, a realization. I think the evidence is concerning. Each word feels like swallowing glass. I need you to understand what this looks like to my people, to Sung Ho. They're demanding action. Action. She repeats the word like it's foreign. What kind of action? Suspension while we investigate. Restricted access. You'd need to stay away from the office, from any organizational business until you can what? Decide if I'm a thief. Her laugh is bitter. A week ago you told me you were falling for me. Now you're what? Interrogating me. I'm trying to protect you. The words burst out, raw and honest. If I don't handle this correctly, if I show favoritism, Sung Ho will take it to the council. And they won't be gentle in their questioning, Naomi. They'll what? Torture me? Kill me? She's putting her laptop away with sharp, controlled movements. Is that what you're afraid of? That you'll have to watch while your organization does what you're too conflicted to do yourself? That's not fair. Fair? She turns on him, and he sees it now, not guilt, but devastation. Her eyes are bright with unshed tears, but her voice is steel. You want to talk about fair? I have spent 6 months navigating your dangerous world. I've learned your language, your codes, your business. I've kept your secrets, attended your dinners, met your mother. I've watched you come back bleeding and patched you up without asking questions I knew you couldn't answer. I know. No, you don't know. She zips her bag with finality. Because if you did, you'd know that the most devastating part of this isn't that you're accusing me of theft. It's that you actually believe I might have done it. The words hit like a physical blow. Naomi, I thought you saw me, really saw me. Not just the translator, not just the woman in the dress, but me. She's crying now, angry tears that she swipes away impatiently. But I'm just another person you can't trust, another variable in your dangerous equations. That's not true, isn't it? She shoulders her bag. You say you're falling for me, but the first time something goes wrong, the first time your logic and your heart conflict, you choose logic. You choose the evidence over me. The evidence is real, Naomi. I can't just ignore it because of how I feel about you. No one's asking you to ignore it. I'm asking you to trust me while you investigate it, to believe that maybe, just maybe, the woman who speaks your language and knows your secrets and has had 100 opportunities to betray you might not suddenly decide to steal money in the most obvious way possible. The logic of it hits him belatedly. She's right. If Naomi wanted to steal from him, she's smart enough to do it without leaving such obvious tracks. She's too intelligent, too careful. But the thought comes too late. I quit, she says quietly. Not because you're investigating me, not because of the accusations, but because I deserve someone who won't doubt me the moment things get complicated. I deserve someone who trusts me as much as I trusted you. Naomi, wait. Don't, she holds up a hand. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't tell me you'll fix this, because the problem isn't the missing money. The problem is that when it mattered, you chose your organization over me, and that's something that can't be fixed. She's gone before he can respond, the door closing with quiet finality. Min-jae stands in his office, surrounded by the evidence that damns her and the ghost of her presence, her coffee cup still on the side table, a forgotten pen, the indent in the couch cushion where she always sat. It takes Sung Ho 3 hours to find the security footage. The digital fingerprints lead to a coffee shop 3 blocks from headquarters. The timestamp matches the transaction. And there, clear as day on the grainy footage, Soo Jin sitting with a laptop, her manicured fingers flying across the keyboard. Next to her, a man Min-jae recognizes, a low-level tech specialist fired 2 months ago for selling information. The setup is elegant. Soo Jin used stolen credentials purchased from the disgruntled tech, processed the transfer during the exact window when Naomi was legitimately accessing the files, and made it look like the theft came from inside. The offshore account traces back to a shell company owned by Soo Jin's cousin. It wasn't about the money. It was about destroying Naomi's credibility, her relationship with Min-jae, her place in his world. And it worked. Min-jae watches the footage loop, Soo Jin's satisfied smile captured in frozen pixels, and feels something crack in his chest. Not anger. Anger would be clean, simple. This is worse. This is the realization that he failed Naomi in the worst possible way. She gave him trust, vulnerability, herself. And when tested, he chose suspicion over faith. She was right. He didn't really see her, not the way she deserved to be seen. "What do you want to do?" Sung-ho asks, quietly. Min-jae doesn't look away from the screen. "Handle Soo-jin. Quietly. I don't want the families involved." "And Naomi?" The question hangs in the air. What does he want to do about Naomi? How do you fix breaking someone's trust? How do you prove you've learned the lesson they taught you? "That," Min-jae says softly, "is going to take more than an apology." Naomi's apartment is a modest walk-up in Hongdae, the kind of building where the elevator works half the time and the hallway smells like someone's grandmother is always cooking kimchi jjigae. It's perfect for her, independent, unpretentious, real. Min-jae has never been here before. She never invited him, maintaining that boundary between her world and his. He's breaking that boundary now. The building's front door lock is laughably easy to bypass, though he suspects Hana, Naomi's best friend and reluctant accomplice, left it slightly ajar. When he texted her 3 hours ago with a simple, "I need your help," she responded, "If you hurt her again, I know 6 different ways to hide a body. Her apartment is 4B. He stands outside Naomi's door at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, still wearing his business clothes, but with his tie loosened and his composure hanging by a thread. He's faced down rival organizations, negotiated with dangerous men, made decisions that affected hundreds of lives. None of it prepared him for this. He knocks. The silence stretches long enough that he thinks she might not answer. Then the door opens a crack, chain still engaged, and Naomi's face appears in the gap. She's wearing oversized sweats and a Seoul University t-shirt, her hair piled in a messy knot, eyes red-rimmed but dry. She looks exhausted and furious and heartbreakingly beautiful. "You think you can just show up with an apology?" Her voice is ice. "No." His hands clench at his sides. "I don't think that, but I needed to see you, to explain." "Explain what? That the evidence was faked? Hana already told me." The chain rattles as she grips it. "Soo-jin orchestrated everything. Very thorough, very clever. You must be relieved to know you didn't fall for a thief." The sarcasm cuts, but he deserves it. "Can I come in? Please." "Why should I let you?" "Because I'm asking. Because I was wrong. Because—" He stops, forces himself to be honest. "Because I'm in love with you, and I need you to hear me say what I should have said 3 days ago." Her expression doesn't change, but something flickers in her eyes. After a long moment, the chain slides free and the door opens. She doesn't step back immediately, blocking the entrance with her body. "You get 5 minutes," she says. "Then I want you gone." He steps inside. Her apartment is exactly what he expected. Books everywhere, plants on every surface, a wall of photographs documenting her life, her friendships, her grandmother. It's warm and lived in, and nothing like his sterile penthouse. It's home in a way his place has never been. Naomi crosses her arms and leans against the kitchen counter, putting space between them. Talk. Min-jae has planned this conversation a dozen times. Every version sounded inadequate. Now, standing in her apartment with her angry eyes on him, the carefully crafted words evaporate. "My father was murdered when I was 19, he begins, and watches surprise flicker across her face. "Shot 3 times in his office by someone he trusted, his accountant, a man who'd worked for our family for 15 years, who came to my graduation, who I called Uncle." Naomi's arms loosen slightly, but she doesn't speak. The money trail showed he'd been skimming for years, small amounts at first, then larger. My father found out and confronted him privately, gave him a chance to explain. Min-jae's jaw tightens. The explanation was a gun. The betrayal wasn't just the theft. It was the abuse of trust. My father died because he wanted to believe in someone's fundamental goodness. "Min-jae, I'm not finished." He takes a step closer, then stops, respecting the space she needs. "After that, I rebuilt everything, made the organization stronger, more secure. I learned to trust evidence, not intuition. Logic, not feeling. It kept me safe, kept everyone safe. And then you walked into my office 6 months ago, speaking Korean like you were born to it, and His voice cracks. He forces himself to continue. "I knew you were different, knew you were honest. But when Sung-ho showed me that evidence, I panicked. Because trusting you meant risking everything I'd built to protect myself, and I chose the protection instead of you. That's not good enough. But her voice is softer now, less ice and more hurt. I know. He meets her eyes, lets her see everything. The regret, the fear, the love. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation. But I should have known better. I did know better. When you said you'd have done it more carefully if you wanted to steal from me, you were right. You're too smart, too skilled to leave such obvious tracks. The logic was there. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of this, he gestures between them, of how much power you have over me, of what it means to love someone in my world. My father loved my mother completely, trusted her absolutely. When he died, she fell apart. Took her 5 years to rebuild herself. I watched her grieve and I promised myself I'd never be that vulnerable. Never give someone that much of myself. Naomi pushes off the counter, moving closer. You think I want that kind of power over you? I think you have it whether you want it or not. His hands ache to reach for her, but he holds back. When Sung-ho showed me that evidence, my first thought wasn't, she stole from me. It was, if this is true, it will destroy me. And that terror made me stupid, made me cruel. You hurt me. The words are simple, devastating. Not because you investigated, I understand that, but because you looked at me and saw a suspect instead of someone you knew, someone you'd watch stand up to your mother, defend you against Soo-jin, stay in your office until dawn to make sure you came back safe. You erased all of that in favor of digital evidence. I know. He takes a risk, reaches out slowly, his fingers barely brushing her wrist. When she doesn't pull away, he continues. I'm in love with you. And that terrifies me. Because you could ask me for anything, my business, my life, my soul, and I'd give it. That's the kind of power you have, the kind I've spent 12 years avoiding. You think I'm not terrified? Her laugh is shaky. Min-jae, your world has gunfights and territory disputes, and people who solve problems with violence. My biggest danger before you was a paper cut from grading essays. And beyond that, she looks away. I'm terrified of losing myself, of becoming so wrapped up in you, in your life, that I forget who I am, of being dependent on someone the way my mother was dependent on my father, the way that destroyed her when he left. I don't want you dependent, he says it fiercely, his other hand coming up to cup her face, tilting her gaze back to his. I want you as my equal, my partner. Not someone I protect and keep safe in a cage, but someone who stands beside me and calls me on my bullshit when I'm being an idiot, like you did 3 days ago. Your world is dangerous, she says, but there's less conviction in it now. It is. He won't lie to her, not about this. I'll do everything I can to protect you, but I won't pretend there's no risk. Being with me means becoming a target, means sometimes I'll come home bleeding, means there will be nights you won't know if I'm coming home at all. That's a terrible sales pitch. I know. His thumb traces her cheekbone, and he feels her lean into the touch. But I also won't lie. You deserve honesty. You deserve trust. You deserve someone who chooses you even when logic says to protect himself. I'm asking. His voice drops. I'm begging for the chance to be that person, to prove I can be. Naomi's eyes search his face, and he holds still, lets her look, lets her see every vulnerability, every fear, every desperate hope. The silence stretches until his heart is pounding so hard, he's certain she can hear it. When I was 14, she finally says, my grandmother told me something. She said, real courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to do something despite being terrified. That's when you know it matters. His breath catches. And I'm terrified. Of your world, of losing myself, of what loving you might cost. She reaches up, her hand covering his where it rests against her face. But I'm choosing this, choosing you. Eyes open, fear acknowledged, but choosing anyway. Naomi, she rises on her toes and kisses him, cutting off whatever he was going to say. It's different from their first kiss. That was exploration, possibility, the tentative beginning of something new. This is declaration. This is choice. This is her saying yes to all of it, the danger, the complexity, the terrifying vulnerability of loving someone completely. Min Jae's arms come around her, pulling her close as he deepens the kiss. She tastes like toothpaste and tea, and when her fingers thread through his hair, he makes a sound that's half laugh, half sob. No interruptions this time. No business associates, no emergencies, no evidence or accusations or fears. Just them, choosing each other despite everything. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Naomi keeps her forehead pressed to his. "I have conditions," she says. "Anything. No more investigations without talking to me first. No more choosing logic over trust. And if you ever doubt me again, I won't." He says it with absolute certainty. "Never again. You have my word, my promise, everything." "Good." She pulls back slightly, and there's a hint of her usual fire in her eyes. "Because I'm keeping Hana's phone number handy and she really does know 6 ways to hide a body." He laughs, the sound surprising him with its lightness. "Noted." "Also," she continues, "I'm coming back to work. Not because you want me to, but because I'm good at my job and I like it. And I'm going to need full access restored, a formal apology to your mother for the drama, and—" She pauses. "An actual date, a real one, where we don't talk about business or territory disputes or missing money." "Done." He kisses her forehead, her cheeks, the corner of her mouth. "All of it, whatever you want." "What I want," she says, pulling him toward her bedroom, "is for you to stay. No more leaving at dawn. No more pretending this is casual. You said you wanted me as your equal, your partner? Then be here. Really be here." Min Jae follows her, and for the first time in 12 years, the fear of vulnerability doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like strength, the kind that comes from choosing love even when everything in your history warns against it. 6 months later, Naomi stands in front of Min Jae's bedroom mirror, adjusting another dress. This one midnight green silk that catches the light like water. Behind her, reflected in the glass, Min Jae watches from the bed with an expression that makes her stomach flip. "You know what that dress does to me," he says in Korean, his voice low and warm. She meets his eyes in the mirror and smiles, confident, knowing, hers. That's the idea. So much has changed in half a year. The dress is the same, another charity gala, another performance of respectability for Seoul's elite. But everything else is different. She's different. They're different. Naomi is no longer Min Jae's translator. She's a consultant now. Independent contractor with her own LLC, her own clients beyond his organization. She still works with him frequently, but on her terms, with the freedom to say no. It was his idea, actually, presented 3 months ago over breakfast. "I want you as my partner, not my employee. This keeps things clean." Clean is relative when you're dating a crime lord, but she appreciates the gesture. She's also learning self-defense. Twice a week, Sung-ho puts her through drills that leave her bruised and exhausted and increasingly capable. Min Jae watches sometimes, his expression complicated, proud and worried and attracted all at once. Last week she successfully disarmed him during a practice session, and the look on his face was worth every aching muscle. "Are you almost ready?" He stands, moving to stand behind her, his hands settling on her waist. "My mother will complain if we're late." "Your mother loves me. She'll forgive us." But she leans back into him anyway, enjoying the solid warmth of his chest against her back. It's true, Mrs. Park has become an unexpected ally. Every Sunday, Naomi goes to the Park family home for cooking lessons. Last week they made galbi jjim, and Mrs. Park shared stories about Min Jae's childhood that made him turn adorably red. "She's weaponizing my mother against me," he complained later, but he was smiling. In exchange, he's been learning from her. 2 weeks ago, she taught him how to braid hair, not hers, but Hana's, who now lives in their guest room while finishing her last year at Korea University. It's unconventional, having her best friend live with them, but it works. Hana keeps them grounded, calls them out when they're being ridiculous, and creates a buffer of normalcy in their sometimes dangerous world. Found family, Naomi calls it. The family you choose, rather than the one you're born with. Even her brother James has come around. He video called last month, took one look at Min Jae in the background making breakfast, and said, "He makes you happy. That's what matters." Then to Min-jae. But if you hurt her again, I have a law degree and zero moral qualms about using it creatively. Min-jae had responded with perfect seriousness. I would expect nothing less. Now, in the mirror, Min-jae's hands slide from her waist up her sides, careful not to wrinkle the silk, but making his intentions clear. We could skip the gala, he murmurs against her ear. Stay here. I could show you exactly what that dress does to me. Heat pools in her stomach. 6 months, and he still makes her feel like this, wanted, chosen, alive. Your mother will understand. His lips trace her neck and her eyes flutter closed. She's been dropping hints about grandchildren. Staying home to practice seems responsible. Naomi laughs and turns in his arms. Nice try, but you promised your mother we'd be there, and I'm not giving her another reason to bring up grandchildren. Spoil sport. But he's grinning as he kisses her, deep and thorough and promising things for later. They make it to the gala. Barely. Morning light filters through the curtains, turning everything soft and golden. Naomi wakes slowly, pleasantly sore, with Min-jae's arm, heavy across her waist and his breathing steady against her shoulder. The sheets are tangled, her dress from last night is somewhere on the floor, and she's wearing his shirt from the gala because she got cold sometime around 3 a.m. She's never been happier. You're thinking loud, Min-jae mumbles, not opening his eyes. Stop it. I'm thinking about breakfast. Liar. He pulls her closer, nuzzling into her neck. You're thinking about how perfect I am. Your ego is thinking about how perfect you are. I'm thinking about pancakes. He laughs, the sound rumbling through his chest into hers. I'll make you pancakes, after. After what? He shows her, thoroughly. An hour later, they're in the kitchen. Him actually making pancakes while she sits on the counter stealing blueberries, both of them disheveled and content. Hana stumbles in, takes one look at them, and retreats. Too much happiness before coffee. Disgusting. Min-jae flips a pancake with unnecessary flourish. She's just jealous. She's right there and can hear you, Hana calls from her room. Naomi steals another blueberry and watches him cook. This dangerous man who kills people and runs a criminal empire, now arguing with her best friend about whether chocolate chips belong in pancakes. The cognitive dissonance should bother her. It doesn't. I have something for you, Min-jae says once the pancakes are done, and Hana has emerged for food. He pulls out a folder from his briefcase, because of course he brought his briefcase home from the gala. Inside are incorporation documents, a new company, Park Chen Consulting, partnership agreement, equal shares. It's the legitimate side, he explains, watching her face carefully. Translation services, cultural consulting, business negotiations, everything above board. I want you as my partner. Actually my partner, not just in title. Naomi studies the documents. It's generous, more than generous. It's respect, acknowledgement, a future built together. I have conditions. Of course you do, he's smiling. I want final say on client selection. I want my name first on the letterhead. And I want Hana as our first hire once she graduates. Done. No, and absolutely. No to my name first? It's alphabetical. Chen comes before Park. You already win. He slides the folder toward her. Sign it. Make it official. Make it ours. Ours. The word has become their anchor. Not his, not hers, but theirs. The business, the apartment, the life they're building together. She signs. Sunday dinner at the Park family home has become tradition. Mrs. Park cooks, though Naomi helps now. Hana comes, because she's family too. Sung-ho sometimes appears, awkward but trying. Tonight, even James is here via video call, propped on a tablet at the table. Naomi is wearing Min-jae's shirt, an old Seoul University one that's soft from washing, and her hair is natural, no styling, just her. She's completely comfortable, completely herself. Mrs. Park keeps refilling her plate. Hana is telling an embarrassing story about Naomi's college dating life. Min-jae's hand rests on her thigh under the table, warm and possessive and home. This is belonging without losing yourself. This is partnership without dependency. This is choosing each other every day and building something that's neither his world nor hers, but theirs entirely. Later, after everyone is left and they're cleaning up together, him washing, her drying, Min-jae catches her hand and pulls her close. The kitchen is warm, the dishwater still running, and Seoul is alive outside their windows. "This is ours," he says in Korean, the language of his heart. Naomi stretches up to kiss him. "This is ours," she agrees in English, the language of hers. And in the space between languages, between danger and safety, between independence and partnership, they've created something entirely their own.